Hello, welcome to today's webinar. This is Advanced MD, and we're bringing to you today our marketplace vendor, HIPAA One. Today's webinar, we're going to talk about being a data defender and how it implies to the HIPAA rules and your practice, and just security risk analysis and those things that we feel you need to know for meaningful use, MIPS, MACRA, all that information that ties back to defending your data. Just as a side note, our marketplace vendor, HIPAA One, will be at our user conference this year, so we're hoping that you'll all register for that as well. We'll see you there in person. But today they'll do a great review of the information they've prepared. The other thing that we've done here at Advanced MD is we've trained all of our sales individuals and your account reps to know who HIPAA One is, to know about the information and the value they bring to you in your office. So we're going to emphasize today on the call and in the future that talk to Advanced MD about this. We'll be able to get you any answers you have to questions, but more information so that you feel better prepared to defend your data. So with that, I'll introduce Bobby and Steve today, who will be the hosts of our webinar, and they'll take it from here.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. I want to go over a couple quick agenda items that we'll be reviewing. First of all, what's in the news? Current events, who's had a breach, how you guys can avoid a breach. A lot about HIPAA workforce training. We'll review some of those elements, introduce a business associate concept, some of the risks that you may run into there, and then open question and answer. Again, as you have questions relative to what the topic of discussion is, Steve and I will try to make this as engaging as we can, but feel free to enter your questions into the little chat box, and we'll monitor those and answer and address as many as we can. I want to introduce Pat. Pat, those of you that have been on the webinar before, brings a little light and fun to HIPAA compliance, but Pat is an acronym. It stands for Physical, Administrative, and Technical Safeguards. And we want to make sure we're always protecting patient records, patient data, and that we remember our responsibility relative to HIPAA compliance. So again, my name is Bobby Sigmiller. I've also got Steve Marco, President and Founder.
President and Founder of HIPAA One. Very, very nice to have you all here today, and we're going to cover as much information that we keep learning that takes weeks and months, and hopefully present it to you in the next 59 minutes.
Thank you. All I want to share here is we've been doing this a long time. We've got a lot of client sites, a lot of experience based on different types of organization setups, small practices all the way up to large health plans. So the important thing we need to emphasize here, we're not attorneys, but we've got to understand what is required relative to this HIPAA compliance. It's a moving target. It does change a lot of the requirements, federal and state. We've got to identify who the bad actors are and how you can protect information at the same time, educating you as to these changes. So that's our goal for today. So as we start the discussion today, real quick, we need you to answer the following question that's up on the screen. Identify what best describes your practice or who you are, your current role within your practice. And what it does is helps us cater the discussion to the dominating force on the call today. So are you administrative, EHRIT, clinical staff, or HIPAA compliance and data security? This changes.
We're both salivating because we want to geek out on different topics. So let's see who's on the call today. More from Bobby or from Steve, depending.
All right. So Alex, let's post the results here.
Quick click. Who are you?
Who do we have?
Yes.
Okay, so 65% administrative, clinical staff, and HIPAA compliance. The interesting thing is protecting your data, you would think that we would be catering this discussion toward the IT folks, but we will keep this fairly high level. If you have additional questions, we can really drop the plow into those items. So anyway, Steve, talk to us about the organizational goals for the administrators on the call today.
Administrators, EHR, HIPAA security, and data security compliance folks, we're all trying to achieve the same goals. We want loyal, energized clinicians and patients. We want really good outcomes. Obviously, we want healthy financials at the end of the day, and it's a very positive experience. We're all trying to achieve the same goals. And the interoperability that we have, not only with different EHRs with lab and different interfaces, but also the Internet of Things, where everything you can now connect through your phone, through the cloud, to control. And for decades, there's also been medical devices. So the source, all of these goals that we're looking at to achieve, from a data security perspective, we look at it from the skeptical approach of data security. A breach or an incident involving patient safety can jeopardize any or all of these goals. And that's what we want to talk about a little bit today. One of the items that we connect with is medical devices. And with all the administrators on the phone and on the call today, as you walk around the clinic, medical devices are things that are connected to people. It could be monitoring. It could be monitoring for alerting, like fetal monitoring, or dispersing medications. So just out of curiosity, we're going to cover data security in terms of the data. We're going to cover identity theft, which is the direction that fraudsters are going. And just to get information so we have a better understanding, we're going to throw up one more poll question, if we may, talking a little bit more about these devices that are connected to your network. If it's connected to a computer, again, monitoring, alerting, emails, or actually to configure a distribution of medications, Pitocin, for example, for an expecting mother. If you could please have an idea, just do you know how many connected medical devices are in your network? If you say yes, it means you have them and you have a good handle on how many there are. If you say no, we will shift the discussion over and let you focus about the items that would affect life and death with respect to configuration of these medical devices. Let's go ahead and bring up the poll results. Oh, we got an even split.
Mm-hmm. About 50-50. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this is very relevant. It's funny, Robert Mueller, he said there's two types of companies, those that have been hacked and those that will be hacked. And we are finding the nature of a breach-related incident is coming in many different ways, and it's evolved. The sophistication of these threats, malware, phishing, it's different than the hackings of yesteryear. So, Steve, if you can talk, why does cybersecurity matter? What do we need to be on point for here?
Well, as we navigate into 2019, there's so much information about us available. There's been so many hacks that have already happened. These are the kind of common knowledge. Again, any strategic goals of the organization, if you're storing any electronic protected health information, cybersecurity is going to matter to you, because a breach is something that will derail the organization. It will demoralize individuals that are involved in the breach. And it really causes a big burden, not only for the organization, but there's a cost, there's a financial impact, there's an emotional impact. It's a feeling of violation that happens. I always want to ask the poll questions: how many on the call have been breached? Yeah. How many have had their houses broken into, or a car stolen, lost your cell phone, had your purse stolen? It's all comes back to the same feeling. However, the stakes are much higher within healthcare. So we're going to cover a few things that are going to help make you aware and bring back to leadership within the organization to make sure that everyone understands that you need to invest in this. I'm not going to go into all the details about all the breaking news that is happening, but if you take one step back, okay, and aside from all the drama and problems that are associated with the breaches, our information, for most of us, is out there. Whether it's because of our own fault or because our information has been breached, the dark web, there's now websites you can go to check to see if your email address has been, they call it pwned, P-W-N-D or P0-W-N-D. Hackers can't spell correctly in the English language. So pwned means that your information has been compromised and it's owned and it's now available. So what does that mean for us now in 2019? Looking back, we've had a really poor job of protecting patient information, which is all of us. We've done a poor job at thinking about security in any aspect of anything that we do. And as a result, there's an constant need for people to defraud and try and make money quick without actually going to work. They're called hackers. They're called fraudsters. And there's all sorts of new ways. For example, here we have some malware basics, and this list used to have 3 items just 2 years ago. And now I don't know if we have to make multiple slides for it. So malware is software that's malicious in intent. And, form jacking has been something that was really big last year, and it's already starting to fade away because more companies are putting antivirus software on their servers now to protect. Form jacking is like when you skim. You go to a website and you buy something, and that website was already compromised, but they don't they don't deface the website, they don't do anything. They just maliciously and quietly skim that credit card transaction information. In fact, Symantec estimates there's been over 4,600 of these skims in 2018 alone, according to their installation base. So ransomware is something everyone is well aware of today, and the ransomware attacks have been dropping dramatically, faster than the stock market back in 2008. Why is that? Well, because ransomware is becoming more difficult because the value of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is dropping in value. So when you get ransomware, they encrypt everything and they charge you a ransom, and you have to buy a certain number of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency of your choice. The value of that cryptocurrency is going down, but hackers use that to exchange goods just like cash. Cryptojacking is the newest thing, and I'd love to ask a question. Has anyone had their phone? You ever had your phone just say phone is overheating, going into low maintenance mode? When that happens, it could be more than likely that your data is going crazy and you've got websites open in the background, and one of those websites is running code from the website. So like form jacking, cryptojacking is when they hijack a website, but no one knows about it because they don't make it apparent. It launches code to mine its complex mathematical calculations to put coins into the hacker's account, and you need a lot of computing capacity. So the effort of cryptocurrency is to equate electricity, energy, and computing cycles to generate value in each Bitcoin, right? So that's the principle of how that economy works. They need many machines that are low powered. Your phone has a great processor, laptop, desktops, anything that they could launch from. Will use your cycles to mine it. Just to give you an example, the amount of electricity it makes, electricity and computing cycles for one Visa transaction, it is 100,000 times each Visa transaction to make one Bitcoin. Just to give you an idea. So in the hacking world, what's valuable? Your identity? Well, it's only valuable if they can convert it to money. This is a direct hack so that they can make cryptocurrency. Phishing is something we're going to show you on the next screen what's happening with phishing. Phishing is a very dangerous, a very effective way to fraud businesses, clinics, and people. What we've seen recently is not only is phishing used to gain your user ID and your password, what is very popular now is not just the data that's within the email. What fraudsters are after is your identity. They want to know what your signature looks like. They want the logo of your company. They want your address list to see who your vendors are, who your customers are. They hack your account. They go in and download your address book. They download and look at all of your emails to get that information, and they start sending emails on behalf of your company that look legitimate with your name that was phished, asking, hey, we want to provide you with some funds. Can you send us your bank and routing information? And they use that information to withdraw funds. So phishing has taken a turn. These hackers, they're after money. They're after monetizing and any opportunities and making payroll.
And if we could, the majority of those on the call today are not IT. This may be talking over your head. I had to explain to my daughter, malware and ransomware is not the latest fashion trend. This is a different way that bad actors are trying to gain access to information and sell for money. That's really the quick overview. But the olden days, they would hack in. You have a big breach. I think we can thank Anthem for very successfully getting all of our information out on the internet. And so
72 million records.
So the value of that data, and it's a lot harder for a hacking organization, individual to penetrate firewalls and all the things that health systems have set up. I asked a local group, very large health system, what keeps you up at night? And he said, we're the Fort Knox. Nobody's getting in. What keeps me up at night is the employees, the individuals. He said they are leaving, literally holding the back door open and letting these individuals into our organization through phishing, through ransomware, malware. He says it's so hard to stay on top of that. So a very tactical piece of advice for all on the call today. If you ever receive an email that's asking you to enter your email and password or information, payment information, be suspect. It's never going to happen like that. If Microsoft wants you to change your password, you will be logged in to Microsoft already.
Yes.
And then you'll get a prompt to do that. There's never going to be an email that says your
not a
bank.
push.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a pull, not a push.
It's not going to be a bank account saying, hey, please enter your information in here. That's where we're seeing this new trend of hijacking information and being able to monetize. These 14-year-old peach fuzz little hackers are trying to gain access to money and information quick. And ransomware and phishing is a great way.
Yep.
So training and awareness and
Yep.
making sure you're very, very suspect, even with emails that don't seem right from within the organization. We see it all the time. I just had one 2 days ago, organization that said, hey, here's the PDF and payment information in here. And I said, hey, this doesn't usually go to me. It goes to accounting. He said, you know what? I've been breached. There's been a breach-related incident.
Yeah.
I apologize. Be suspect.
Well, and there are controls, right? There's training and awareness that we're going to cover here in just a minute to keep people aware. But we're all aware of how to drive a car. We're all aware that in the wintertime when the snow falls and there's ice on the ground, we should drive slowly. But if you've ever had the experience of approaching an intersection and you press the brakes and the car doesn't slow down and you push the brakes harder and then the ABS kicks in, you can feel through the pedal and zzz noises, and the car stops and you're like breaking out a cold sweat watching the cars go by in the intersection, that is a safety mechanism. A firewall is like ABS for your car. That moment where you're doing 5 things at once, because we're all very highly productive people. You're working in clinics, you're in administration, EHR, IT, whatever it is you're doing, you're very focused, you're trying to be as efficient as possible. It's very easy to not be skeptical when you see an email come in from the outside, especially from someone you know. A firewall, if you don't have a firewall in place that is in between your organization and the internet, that has deep packet inspection and web filtering for malware sites, that's your quickest hit on having that additional safety net. We just implemented Office 365 for all of our email, all of our file sharing, SharePoint, Teams, and being a cybersecurity firm and compliance firm, we also implemented all of the security and compliance features that come with Microsoft Office. It is awesome. They have this thing called Active Threat Protection, and you just turn it on. You just turn it on for Exchange so that any attachments are scanned, whether they come in or out of the organization. You won't see them until they're finished scanned. But more importantly, there's this thing called ATP, Advanced Threat Protection Safe Links. What does that mean? When you get that email and there's that link that is going to ask you for user ID and password, it doesn't open it on your local computer. It opens it on a Microsoft proxy server, and it does a full scan on that website that you're trying to get to, and will tell you right away and block it if it looks like the certificate doesn't match, or the domain name doesn't match the name of the organization, or if it shows up on a blacklist and it'll block it. We had that happen last week. One of our administrators got an email from someone that she communicates with frequently asking to log in so that they can access a file for a payment, and they actually owed us money. So she went in and clicked the link, and she kept getting website blocked, what's going on? And it says right there that the site you're going to is a known blacklisted phishing site. So we were able to pick up the phone if you're ever in doubt. She called her colleague and found out that their email was hacked. So these are the controls you have to put in place.
Yeah, these are added protections, very, very important. So is there a question?
There's a couple questions that we wanted to get to online. So a couple of them are, and Steve and Bobby have done a great job just introducing how the attacks happen, right? And so I think what's important to know for every clinic out there, you may have an IT department who manages your risk, and they manage who's accessing your network. But for the office and for the clinic members themselves, the team members, it's important in these security risk analysis that everybody is trained on how to be a data defender, right? And that's why we're even having this conversation today. And we'll get more into that here. But what's really important is that you understand that people can be hacked by simply receiving an email into their standard whatever Gmail account, personal account that they open on your network. If they receive an email that says, hey, click here, those type of things, those are types of phishing and ways that people can access your network just by them simply participating on their own personal email or their personal computer access via your network. So there's different ways that this can happen, and your IT staff generally monitors who's accessing your network and how that's happening. But the security risk analysis that every doctor has to do means that I've trained my team about what HIPAA means. I've trained my team how to protect that. And so it's really important that you just understand these fundamentals for how malware and how attacks and how phishing even is accessed through the front door of your internet in your office.
It's an interesting, and thank you for that comment. It's a multi-pronged approach. One is people and the other is processes. Yeah, and keep the poll up because there's a couple of talking points that I've got here. We do need to train and make people aware. Don't click on that. And then we also want to have processes. This dialogue that Steve just had about Microsoft Office 365, there are some built-in security guards that are there to help protect the organization. And this isn't a shameless plug. Microsoft reached out to HIPAA One. We wrote a white paper on Windows 10, how to make it HIPAA compliant. It's funny, I was looking back over some of our webinars, and 2 years ago, we started talking about SAP, Microsoft, Apple, Google, IBM, all these very large organizations, all wanting a piece of the healthcare pie. Fast forward, here they are. So we have a white paper that talked about Windows 10. A lot of practices were using it, and there were some things that were not okay. Telemetry and pulling back some patient information to Microsoft, and some of these folks, Google, not signing business associate agreements. We have that available to you at no charge. We are right now, due tomorrow, Steve is going to be sharing an Office 365 paper. Microsoft has contracted again,
and
Teams,
again with HIPAA One. It is breaking information. So our question is: do you plan to use Microsoft,
or are you using
Microsoft Office 365? And let's close that poll. The reason we want to know this, we now have a new white paper. Advanced MD customers will be the first to receive that. And we'll show you there's little settings that you can turn on that couple training and awareness with multiple little Army generals that will protect your fortress.
So I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna get technical here for 5 seconds and then jump right out. Please, if I don't get out in 5 seconds, call the police. If you are using Office 365, send us an email, or at the end we have contact information. The default setting is 15 days to retain logs for Outlook, for Exchange, excuse me. So it doesn't matter what level, if you have small business or higher, you can, there's a PowerShell command you can enter to retain those logs indefinitely and turn on the logs where you can actually tell. The biggest problem that we see, we get calls from folks all over the country. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide.
And Steve, I'm fascinated at 76%.
76%.
So what he's doing right now with
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft and counseling them how to, turn on these settings, not pull what they call protected health information, and pull it back to Microsoft. I mean, this is in the works real time. I thought we would have about 30% of the folks that are using Microsoft Office. So this white paper, as soon as it's done, you guys will be the first to receive that.
Real quick, if you are curious what those settings are, how to implement quick wins, literally Google quick wins Office 365 security. And they will go over the 3 steps you can do to turn on logging with your email, because that's the biggest problem we have, is that when we get clinics that call us and say, hey, I think we had a breach, can you do a forensic? And we do the forensics. They're not prepared. They don't have logging turned on. So there's nothing for us to look at to actually determine if their email account was fully compromised or not. And we can't tell if data's been downloaded. Did they just download the address book and download a couple emails, or did they download the payload of all the emails? That's critical to know if you have a breach or not.
And we had one of the questions, how do we know? I mean, tease right into what we're discussing.
How do we know if we've been hacked?
When you do a security risk assessment.
Turn on your logging first.
I think one of our webinars we did several years ago, I think the statistic was 18 months before you even know you've been hacked. If you do a security risk analysis, there are specific questions that go through physical, administrative, technical, and vulnerability scanning. There's different things we can do to identify where there may be potential holes in the organization, and then we can dig in a little deeper.
Yeah, if you're using Office 365, contact your Advanced MD representative. When we do the HIPAA security risk analysis, we can help you, guide you on the quick wins. They're very fast during the audit, and that way you'll be able to pass those questions. Not only that, but have some peace of mind. There's a lot of details, and I can talk about this for hours, but I'm not going to. All you need is a couple accounts with E3 or better E5, Enterprise 5 licensing. You don't have to do the whole organization, but if you have 1 or 2 of those accounts, you have access to security and compliance tools that you can give access to regular users, because that's something we see IT folks do not want to give full administrative access to their compliance team. But the compliance team needs to have access to monitor, to get alerts when things happen, to do data loss prevention, data classification. Where is my PHI? It has all those tools to tell you. If you have problems, I'm going to switch to the next slide, seeing the data up on this screen, just Google HHS breaches more than 500.
And the other thing that I would say, if you have questions, and this is pretty high level, and you have some, what do we need to do? The risk analysis is a starting point. Reach out to your Advanced MD rep and say, I got questions. I want to talk to HIPAA One one-on-one, and we can go through your individual needs. We've got sales reps on our side that can identify where your gaps are, and then help you put a plan in place to protect your organization. As we had that slide, it's not a matter of if, but when there's a breach-related incident, and you can protect yourself by doing some very, very simple things, even if you don't have the IT expertise or prowess. Using Advanced MD or Office 365, there are responsibilities that Advanced MD has to put the HIPAA compliant. They have to be HIPAA compliant. And there's also within the software, they put in hooks and switches so that you can look at activity and you can look at who accessed which patient record. So there's responsibilities that you have using Advanced MD, just like there's responsibilities you have using Office 365 that you can actually not when you reach HIPAA compliance, meaning that you are compliant, all your settings are compliant, you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing. You have a foundation for physical, administrative, and technical safeguards that are proactive, detective, and reactive to really help you block. And you have one thwarted phishing attempt. It pays for itself easily. So up on the screen, we have breaches more than 500. A couple of years ago, there would be a couple trickling in here and there every other month or so. This is just showing February. These are breaches that are by federal law. If you have a breach which is an unsecured, unauthorized disclosure of patient health information, you have under federal law 60 days to report it to Health and Human Services. Some states have a more strict timeline to report it to the state first, especially, the laws are changing, but let's just stay on point. If we look at the type of breach here, it used to be theft and loss was like 80% back in 2012 of the reasons why, and we're saying do encryption for your laptops, your phones, and everything else. Well, guess what? Today, hacking IT incident. Just have a look at the type of breach. Hacking IT incident is dominating the reasons why people are reporting a breach. We're still having problems with theft. Unauthorized access or disclosure up until the end of last year was still the highest occurrence
of reasons to report a breach of more than 500, and usually it comes from internal access or emails that are sent to the wrong email address, or faxes that are sent to the wrong location, paper or films that are lost in transit. Hacking IT incident email is phishing. Hacking IT incident network server is ransomware, malware. And so there are all these things you have to do in order to protect yourself. This is talking about breaches of PHI. We're covering not only this, but identity theft protection, leveraging your brand of your clinic and your organization, your billing company, in order to capitalize and monetize based on fraud.
Okay, so we have a question here. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Let's first cover the question here.
Well, we've got I thought you'd reviewed those. I do have a poll question here.
Okay.
Second
Top 3 reasons. I mean, just really quick recap: unauthorized access or disclosure. What we just covered is the highest occurrence of breaches and reason to report at the end of last year. But as you can see, things change quickly. Now we're talking about email phishing and ransomware. Hacking IT incident. It historically has involved a least number of incidents, but each incident involves a higher number of records per incident. Now we're seeing hacking IT incident is the highest reason to report a breach, and it's also the double whammy affecting most people. And theft and loss, encrypt your data, make sure that you double check it before you send a fax. If you send an email, make sure you have disclaimers. You use encryption, you're using Office 365. It's literally a setting that you turn on, and you say, if you put the word encrypt or secure in the subject line, Office 365 will automatically encrypt it for you.
All right, so here's our question. Let's launch a poll question here. We want to know which option below best describes the current HIPAA training program. We've talked about a lot of things. We've gone into a lot of depth, and again, we want to remember that not a lot of IT folks that can implement these things on the call, but a lot of administrative. So this is very relevant to you.
Unless you do HIPAA security risk analysis,
yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but if you do HIPAA risk analysis, these are high risk that show up on the report that get assigned to people. All of a sudden, you've got a third party coming in and saying you need to invest in these technologies. It's not going to cost you a whole lot of money, and you have to invest in these items.
Absolutely.
So we can get you on the radar.
But for the administrative, how are we training? This is a big part of it, making sure our staff is trained. So are you training via PowerPoint, manual delivery, static documents with quiz, training platform, somebody in-house, a team member training, or training, what is that? And if we have too many of those, I'm going to send Bubba after you. If we have too many, answer E. So let's give a couple more seconds and let's post the results. So let's see how you're training. So it looks like you guys use a training platform and in-house members, and this is all good. This is very
88%
good.
88% are doing training. That's good.
No, this is key. We have seen in the last 12, 18 months when you are audited by either OCR, Figliosi, they used to just say, did you do your training? And you'd raise your hand and they would say, congratulations, give you a star on your forehead. They're now asking for sometimes documentation. Who took the training? Show us how that was administered. Are they signing a log? Make sure that you keep a record of that. And I see 28% of you are using training platforms. We do have some training platform, compliance training available, in addition to follow-up email phishing attacks.
Simulated email phishing attacks. I wonder if those are actually happening or not. Doing the actual training is good. The thing is that there are so many threats are evolving so rapidly, it's difficult to keep up. So
it is.
It doesn't matter what training you're doing, you have to keep changing your content in order to stay relevant. Email phishing is a big problem, right? So the training modules that we have talk about, okay, here's how you identify, here are the key things to watch out for. Look at the email address. Does the domain name match the name of the organization? Does the name of the person match? There's low-hanging fruit, but more importantly, our training software not only covers all these items here that are up on the screen, but the simulated phishing attack, you can crank up it has several levels of sophistication. You can start with low level and send it out to the whole company. It's got spelling mistakes. It's got logos that don't look right. You can crank up the sophistication of your assimilated email phishing to be quite close to the real thing. And if people click on the link, instead of having a big breach or having a problem, they're going to be directed to finish cybersecurity training on how to identify email phishing.
I think it's good. We actually just went through as an organization our annual HIPAA compliance training. It took me a few hours to do. Did some at night, some during work hours, but it's top of mind. Some of these areas that there could be a potential breach. It's so fun. Those that are on the call, administration, you get to create this email from Amazon or from, and see who clicks it and say, congratulations, you just qualified for another 2 hours of HIPAA compliance training. But it is helping the organization avoid very, very costly fines and jobs.
I think folks have a good understanding of when it's appropriate to discuss or release patient health information. It's for treatment, payment, and healthcare operations. It's a very small circle. I wish we had the graphic up right now. Anything outside of treatment, payment, healthcare operations, it could be police officer, church member, spouse, unless they're a representative and you have authorized them. All of those require a release. Without the release, it's considered a breach. So this training reinforces what is minimum necessary, what is an appropriate release, what is HIPAA high tech. It came out in 1996. It's been evolving over the years. Now, we marry current cybersecurity threats with the HIPAA security rule as a foundation. Things have changed a lot since 1996, but the principles of security have not really changed that much. So when you use this training, when you use HIPAA One, when you use Advanced MD, you're going to be current with not only the current HIPAA regulations, but also the current cybersecurity threats as well. Training and awareness, very important.
Very important.
Way.
Again, we have that available. The smaller practices, we just throw it in there as part of the Advanced MD package. If it's a little bit bigger, several locations, hundreds of individuals, we've got some really unique pricing. They can take this training multiple times throughout the year and unlimited phishing attempts. So it's a good way to practice what you just learned.
Absolutely. So two things you need to report to an audit if you have to report a breach. Number one is policies and procedures. So you need to have those in place. You use the HIPAA One software. We provide you with all the policies and procedures, but it's up to you to implement them, sign them. And now they're asking for, not only are the policies and procedures in place, but 88% of you are doing this training one way or the other. So that's good. But do you have a policy and procedure that shows the organization's intent to implement an annual training program? So you got to have both pieces. You got to have the policy and procedure, which is the document. It's a bureaucracy and audit. If you don't have the paperwork, it doesn't exist. But you also have to now show that you're actually acting upon and following and implementing that policy and procedure. So I'll just stop there for that.
Cool.
So those are two things you need to pass an audit.
All right. So
how can people get audited?
How do you get audited? Well, it's like winning the lottery, right? So there are several different ways an organization can be audited. And it's funny, we've been doing this a long time, and we hear this apathetic approach, not going to happen to me, I'm going to fly under the radar. Newsflash, it's not a matter of if, but when you will be audited. The state attorneys general has been deputized now. It was 2009 High Tech Act, but it's since the government's a little slow, 10 years later, they are now doing these audits. We started seeing these with our clients and going, where are these guys coming from? Now, we have a 100% pass rate, but it used to be OCR, breach-related incident, random audit program. A lot of our clients would say, we're never going to get audited. We're seeing more and more and more. Here's how you could be audited. A patient complaint. I was treated unfairly, file a complaint, you will be audited. Whistleblower. My son works at a long-term care facility, and he said, Dad, they throw away so much good food. And I said, well, flip side, what if they kept the food to conserve cost, and they started feeding this elderly population rotten food, and they're getting sick and dying? I said, a whistleblower, that would be somebody complaining that this is not a good thing. They're trying to stretch their budget, so you call out something that, or a doctor took pictures while this patient was sedated. that's a whistleblower. You will be audited. Ongoing monitoring. We do have the random, Medicaid eligibility and meaningful use audits. They can go up to several years back. We see these all the time. Hey, we're auditing you for 2014. And the bad thing is if you don't have documentation from yesteryear to today, $50,000 per fine and a lot of frustration.
Each of these occurrences, these first three boxes that Bobby's talking about, are out of your control. You will be caught flat-footed. You'll get a letter from the Office for Civil Rights. They're the Division of Health and Human Services that's been deputized to enforce HIPAA. So anytime there's a patient complaint, a whistleblower complaint, or ongoing monitoring, which means ongoing monitoring is not only at the federal level, but we're seeing state attorneys generals doing audits for Social Security, and while they're doing that, they're doing audits for meaningful use payments over multiple years.
Why would they do that? It's a revenue source.
It's a revenue source. $50,000 per gap in HIPAA. We cover 72 of the HIPAA citations. That each one of those is $50,000 worth. So these three, you will be caught flat-footed because you have no control over it, right? What's this next one, though? You will actually, this is where you'll be almost like turning yourself in.
Yep, when there's a breach-related incident, and we covered a lot of those, not to kick that dead horse, but there's a lot of ways we can have a breach, phishing, malware, ransomware, and then the last one is business associates. This is the one that I find fascinating. I've got a lot of friends that say, we don't see patients. Why do we have to do this dumb thing called a security risk analysis? And my response...
Or we don't house EPHI.
Exactly.
Why do we have to do this
And my response is, you access. If there's a breach-related incident through one of your business associates, guess who gets to report to all the patients that there's been a breach? The covered entity or eligible professional. That is one of the biggest frustrations. Bismatics was an EHR vendor. Had a breach. And it's like, sorry, and then all their providers have to notice.
All their providers.
It's very expensive. Credit monitoring.
Yep, the providers notify all the patients.
It's exciting.
No fault of their own.
Absolutely. And so that's why these business associate agreements are so important. We actually have a tool that you can use for free. If you use HIPAA One to manage your business associates, gives you the agreements that you can put in place, but also puts them on notice that they need to do this. Final Omnibus Rule 2013 required these 4 to 6 million business associates to do that. Advanced MD, they are very secure. That does not mean you are secure. Advanced MD does this every single year. They want to make sure that they are a secure technology provider. You've got a lot that you need to do on your own.
Yeah. So these three you won't see coming. We always, whenever someone gets audited, the first thing you want to do is ask for a 3-week extension to respond, to give you some time to get all your ducks in a row. And if you follow the instructions we've been talking about so far in this webinar, you'll be in a good position to respond. These two blocks, breach notice and business associates, you will be made aware of the breach first, and then you will have up to 60 days to respond, and then you will get the data request letter, and then you will ask for a 3-week extension when that happens. Okay?
Absolutely. So let me tee this up. Business associates. A lot of administrative folks on the call today. Who are the business associates that are you're doing business with, and what is their liability?
Okay. Well, we've got anyone that views, transmits, stores. PHI is a business associate. So here are some examples up on the screen. We've got coders, billing companies, which we have a few on the call today, IT and computer techs, attorneys, accountants, drug medical suppliers. These are ones that actually know who the patients are. That would, because for prescriptions you need to have that information. So these are examples, messengers, anyone that could be exposed to that information is a business associate. All right, let's just check to see who's paying attention.
All right, this one's easy. Which option is not an example of a business associate? Answer this quickly. A, IT and computer techs. B, drug and medical suppliers. C, janitorial staff. Or D, people like Garrett, attorneys or recovering attorneys.
We won't hold that against them.
All right, let's give it a second. A couple more. 3, 2, and 1. Alex, let's post the results.
Nice.
Janitorial, so thank you. So I don't know if you guys noticed the image. And Garrett, I hope you were one of the 2% that answered attorney, drug and medical suppliers, and tech. So 89% of you were accurate. The rest of you, this is good. This is very good in a controlled environment. We now know who you are, and we're going to report you. No, I'm kidding.
So who is not an example of a business associate? Janitorial staff. All of the folks that answered yes here and answered correctly, please.
Let's display those results, or remove those.
Results
I want to
Give
go back
yourself a week off and a raise, and just say Bobby said it was okay.
That's right. And you're welcome. So that little image to the side, we tried to tip you off a little bit.
Subliminally.
But it is important. Again, there's training and awareness, and this is meant to be a little bit more jovial and fun, but it is important to have these business associate agreements in place so that if or when there is an incident, you can triage and handle this with poise.
Yeah. You know what the thing is, though, and I don't think that I haven't seen any examples of this, but certainly if you're an office that has patient records strewn about the office, you've got printouts, fax machines, and so forth. Make sure that you know who your janitorial staff is, and make sure that they go through HIPAA security training.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
Or at least have that discussion with them.
So let me give some context here, Steve, and then let's talk about business associate and kind of chain of trust. Who's liable here? So this was an email that I received personally. LabCorp recently detected activity on its information technology network that was subsequently determined to be ransomware. So they had this attack. It was an attempt to block or disable their computer systems. They immediately shut it down. And, it may have affected some test results. But as I read through this, I thought, this stinks because this is my personal information. But I liked their approach. They were aware. They had the appropriate technology in place to detect. They had a plan in place to disable and notice. And it kind of made me feel good that, hey, some hacker out there doesn't have my information, is not trying to create, a credit card with my information. I had just gotten some blood drawn, and wanted to see some things. But this is an example that it can happen to anyone. And there's an appropriate way. So my point here is, as a provider or as a clinic, there are some things that you are required to do by law. There's some things you're required to do ethically, and it is to protect patient data. Had there been a breach through LabCorp and they didn't catch this, you would be noticing me and you would be covering credit monitoring. So it's a good thing that LabCorp does have, like I said, the technology in place. They've done their risk analysis. They're in a good situation. It is okay for you to ask your business associates if they've done a risk analysis. They're required to by law. So don't hesitate to push them a little bit so that you're not caught in a situation you don't want to be in.
Mm-hmm. In this particular case, the ransomware attack, it would not necessarily be a breach because they contained it and they were in control of that data.
Yeah.
From a legal perspective, if a ransomware attack is successful and all the data is encrypted and you're unable to restore that data quickly to provide access to that patient information when that patient needs it, that is considered a breach. So,
excellent.
That's there's always a control. You just have to be prepared and, understand these threats and be prepared for them.
Awesome. So we've got 9 minutes left. If there's any questions that you have, fire them in. I want to have Steve go through real quick, chain of trust. Who's liable? We've talked about this a little bit, but buzz through this with us so that they can get an overall concept of information going back and forth and what they can do.
So we've been talking about all this diligence and care you have to take to preserve the confidentiality of your patient information. So when you exchange that data with another vendor, a billing company, an EHR vendor, you're trusting them to take that same care that you've taken so much time, effort, and money invested in to maintain that level of trust with your patients, with your customers, that they won't be sloppy with it and they won't just lose the information. But if that does happen, here's your 13-year-old kid with peach fuzz that's late for dinner from mommy, that goes in and is able to compromise that data, whether through phishing or hacking or remote access or malware. That business associate's now aware that they have a breach. They're not the ones that have to notify Health and Human Services. You are. So as this, they call it, the legal term is custody of trust, but everyone calls it the chain of trust. The covered entity has to report it to Health and Human Services. So Bismatics, of no fault of their own, each physician receives a notice from Bismatics. Now the physician is legally required within 60 days or less to notify Health and Human Services of no fault of their own. So this is, and they also have to notify all their patients. That equals your audit. It's going to result in an audit, a data request form. Here's your alleged violations. Here's what we need from you. Respond within 2 weeks, and we'll get back with you. And those typically result in settlements if you don't have all your policies and procedures.
There you go.
And you don't have
a risk analysis
proof.
and
risk analysis
proof of training
is number one.
and compliance. We're seeing the request a lot more than we used to in the past. It's funny, we've been doing this for several years with Advanced MD. It used to be teacher would say, who did their homework? And everyone would raise their hand and everyone would clap and get an A+. It's different. They're saying, turn the homework in. We're now going to grade it. You said you were doing these things all along, and you've been taking meaningful use money, MIPS money.
So we're seeing Washington State, Arizona, and Connecticut very active in auditing for meaningful use. Okay, so and they are much more strict than the OCR. They have a different interpretation of the rules, and that's a whole discussion for another point. The point is, you need to have your risk analysis done. Every single audit that asks for your risk analysis, you do your risk analysis. The rest of the items that they're asking for, as long as you've implemented those controls, you're covered. That's
Absolutely.
how you pass an audit.
So, Steve, I'd like to skip these next two slides if we could and just make mention we do have a business associate tool available to you, and you can contact, again,
it's easy to
your
use.
Advanced MD sales rep to set up an appointment with us, and we'll get that to you. I want to spend a little time on this.
Yeah.
We've talked about so much today. A lot of it may have gone over your head. Some of it may have hit home. Pinch nerves, poke eyes. Shout out to Kent. For that. We want to know, what services would you like us to talk to you in more detail about? And this is a private one-on-one conversation. There is zero obligation here, but we can go through your scenario and say, let's talk about let's talk about a security risk analysis. We don't have one of those. What do we need to do? How much is it to the penny? What's it going to cost me the next 3 years? Let's talk about privacy and breach risk analysis. What's that? You guys are more familiar with privacy than you are security because it's policy-based release of information, disclosures, so you probably get that one. C, business associate agreement. Several of you said, what's that? I don't have them. Guess what? We have one for you, and we'll give it to you for free.
And it actually sends, it's like a DocuSign-like approach where it sends the email out for the business associate to sign it, and it gives you real-time status on each of those. Our next version that we're working on has an additional checkbox where you can ask the business associate to provide proof, either a pen test result, a vulnerability scan, a security risk analysis, a letter from a third-party auditor, some evidence before they get the business associate agreement, in order to conduct business together. So that's coming. Well, that's going to be done at the end of Q1.
And the cool thing is we've spent a lot of money on that. It is available to you. If you use the HIPAA risk analysis software, it's part of the package. You get it for free. Now, D on here probably causes a little more discomfort. Workforce security and phishing, SIM training. I hope that you feel a little discomfort. If you're worried, could we be breached? Could somebody click on, something? Is the training awareness up to snuff? If it's not, we have tools you can use. Very, very easy. You don't need to know anything about technology. It's here's the training, and then here's the follow-up. And then the last one is cyber security evaluation. So if you have any questions, we are not going to display the results on these, so feel free to click these. This is private information. And then we can reach out to you. The sales reps from Advanced MD, HIPAA One will reach out, set up a private call, and we can go through that. We want to thank you, for your time today. I know this a lot, to keep the attention for 60 minutes on HIPAA compliance training. I promise you, when I was a young boy getting in a lot of trouble, I didn't think, I cannot wait to grow up and work in HIPAA compliance. And I'm sure you didn't either. But we're here. We're here to help. We've got a lot of information. Again, this is a beautiful picture of me in the Nashville, Tennessee Advanced MD User Conference, EVO,
That's right.
a couple years ago. That was a lot of fun. So I didn't know that was in there. But call Advanced MD to get started. If you have any questions, any information you'd like, again, we're here to help you through this really, really labor-intensive, mundane, and error-prone process.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any questions or any other hands up or anything?
I think we've closed the majority of the questions out. Guys, we can't stress, if you have questions, we can't stress enough. Call Advanced MD. Talk to one of your Advanced MD reps. We've all talked to them about the security risk analysis. They can connect you with the guys at HIPAA One. You can call them directly. We're just really trying to get the word out and help educate around this process because we know how daunting it may be or how complex it may be to a lot of our practices. So we'll share with you that HIPAA One is a great partner. We've done several webinars with them. We always have a large draw of customers who want to know this information, and they're very customer friendly to the Advanced MD customers. They'll talk with you, walk you through any concerns or misunderstandings you may feel you have. They'll teach you on this, and then they'll invite you to look at their product. I have not seen, and I've done a lot of study on this product in the marketplace, I have not seen anything as cost effective or efficient as what HIPAA One offers. If you're familiar with TurboTax, this is even easier. It walks you through, asks you a lot of questions about your understanding on the risk that you have of your practice, helps you answer it, and makes you feel like the expert around this. So we encourage you to look at it, reach out today. We look forward to seeing you all at the next Advanced MD EVO user conference this fall.
Thank you on behalf of Advanced MD and HIPAA One. And again, this slide deck will be shared with everybody that registered and joined the call today. Thank you, and we love you.
We'll see you at EVO. Have a great day, and may your future be free of breaches. Thank you.